My name is Simon Shepard. In this film, we're going to be talking about sleep. Something we do for around 30% of our lives, and yet something we pay very little attention to, even though it is our most deliberate coping strategy. And if we think what fatigue does to us in terms of our physical health, our mental health, our ability to perform well, and even our ability just to be nice to ourselves, let alone other people, maybe we should think about sleep a bit more often than we do. And I think it's interesting to see how the world of academia, the world of wearables, even the world of the popular press are addressing this topic. As Ariana Huffington says, everything you do, you could do better with a good night's sleep. So what does a good night's sleep look like? Well, researchers would suggest that adult human beings need to go through 5 complete cycles to get truly restorative sleep. A sleep cycle can be divided into a number of phases, but to keep things simple, let's think of light sleep as theta sleep, deep sleep as delta sleep, and then REM, rapid eye movement, the type of sleep that helps us sort our brains out. Now, I often get asked, how much sleep should I get? And the answer will vary from person to person. And the variation lies in the duration of delta sleep that you may need. Some people will average around about 40 minutes a cycle. Others might be 90 minutes plus a cycle. For the vast majority of us, it will be around about an hour, 65 minutes a cycle, meaning that we will require around about 7 3/4 to 8 hours sleep to get through those 5 cycles. Another question I get asked is it possible to sleep too much? Well, the answer is probably yes when it comes to the function of the brain. And recent research has shown that if you sleep too much, your cognitive ability reduces in pretty much every dimension apart from short-term memory. So we've had to think about how long you might need to sleep for, but one point I did make earlier is we need to get the quality right. And to take that a little bit further, we need to get the quality right all night. The front part of our sleep is dominated by delta sleep. The back end of sleep is more about REM. And this is interesting because delta sleep is more associated with restoring your body. It restores us physically, whilst REM is more about sorting your mind out, doing all that filing in your brain that needs to happen and restoring it so that you can think straight in the morning. So let's start thinking about some of those simple things that could help you sleep a bit better. Nutrition. If you go to bed hungry, you're not going to sleep very well. Think of a baby, it wakes up and cries. Adults might not do the crying bit, but they definitely don't sleep well. And if an adult decides to take on board lots of food just before it goes to sleep, that's really not going to help the quality either. Exercise, fantastic thing, and we know that it has a really strong correlation with good quality sleep. Exercise well, you tend to sleep well. However, if you exercise late and at a high intensity, that timing and that dosage can really impact your sleep. And the other thing to think about is hydration. Take on board some fluid before you exercise. Don't rely on rehydrating afterwards. Alcohol. For many of us, it will send us straight to sleep, but it is a toxic substance. And typically we find that for every unit of alcohol that people take on board, they lose an hour's quality sleep. It makes sense if you think how you feel when you wake up after a good night out on the town. And lastly, the stimulants, things like sugar, caffeine, and nicotine. Let's just think about caffeine. It does have some health benefits, but it is a stimulant. It's the stimulant that gets into our brains. It blocks neuroreceptors that are designed for something called adenosine. Adenosine is one of those neurochemicals that calms us down, so we really want that to be working just before bed. I try and avoid caffeine after 2 o'clock because it does have a long chemical half-life of around about 4.5 to 5 hours. Take it on board later and you're going to be blocking that action of adenosine. The environment we sleep in will also have a great impact. Think of the temperature. Most adults will probably like a temperature of around about 16 to 19 degrees Celsius to sleep in. We like to sleep in the dark, so if it's light, we're going to struggle. Light tends to cause the release of dopamine, a hormone that makes us feel alert. So try and keep the bedroom as dark as possible. Make sure you have a comfortable pillow and mattress. These things wear out. You might need to replace them occasionally. And the last thing to think about is noise. It's often the snorer, the partner next to you. Don't forget, you can influence snoring. It can be treated. And if that's not the case, you can also use earplugs. It's incredible how many people just try and sleep and suffer, not in silence, but in noise. Many people find it quite easy to switch their bodies off, their head hits the pillow, they go to sleep. However, a number of people find it really quite hard to switch the mind off. So here are a couple of things for you to think about. If you are on a device, things such as a phone or an iPad last thing at night, that's going to stimulate the brain. It could be social media, it could be some challenging news, but it's not the greatest thing to be doing just before bed, let alone the fact that many of them will be releasing quite a bit of blue light, something that stimulates the pineal gland, which then releases dopamine, that hormone that's going to make us feel alert again. You may find it easier just to not take the device anywhere near the bedroom. So the last tip I'm going to give you is one that I would use when I'm really busy. I have a book. It's a blank book. And about 45 minutes before bed, I'll draw a line down the middle of a page. On the left-hand side, I write at the top today, and on the right-hand side, tomorrow. I'll jot down what I've done. It often makes me feel a bit better about life. I have done some things today, and then I'll write down what needs to be done tomorrow. I'll look at it, and I will slowly close the book, typically whilst trying to do 5 deep breaths. And I'm just giving myself permission to switch my mind off. I don't need to remember everything overnight. I can now put my brain to bed as well as my body. Sleep is a skill. You may have to experiment with a few of these tips and techniques to find the perfect recipe for you. But I hope this will help you be more energized when you get out of bed in the morning and be able to use your brain more effectively and be nice to yourself as well as other people.